About 6 months ago, I came across an idea. The more I thought, the more I was convinced it was the future, and I want to be a part of it. With my extensive experience at supplier certification and witness audits, I can give a valuable insight into it. And for the past few months, I have been serving as the Chief Strategy Officer of QualityAI, a Florida-based software company developing a cutting-edge AI-powered audit software. But because we go into details why QualityAI, we need to agree on the ultimate purpose, the goal of an organization. When I was working as auditor or conducting trainings or even discussing with professionals, I often ask the question, what is the purpose, what is the ultimate goal of IETF 6949? How would you answer if you had to sum it up in just one word? People give hundreds of responses, standardization, quality, improvement, and so on, but very, very rarely, really very rarely they say, it is about money, it is about profit. If we acknowledge and openly state that the ultimate goal of an organization is to generate profit, we can also recognize that IETF 6949 is essentially a guide. It's a guide which describes for an organization how to operate in a way producing quality products on time and in the required quantity for its customers, ultimately generating revenue and profit. Well, you all know the saying about car repair shops, right? What we expect from the services. The service must be good, fast, and cheap. But you can choose only two at the same time, right? In contrast, in the automotive, all the three must be achieved. But what tools does leadership need to manage an organization in a way that it can really fulfill customer expectations and really can generate revenue and profit? Of course, in addition to robust planning and execution of those plans, they need to monitor progress and performance, and they need to react, they need to adjust the operation with this final goal. The monitoring tools vary. Of course, maybe the most important, the financial controlling, which is a well-understood tool that works at the vast majority of the organizations. The second one is the key performance indicator, KPI, monitoring and tracking. So this is a bit more difficult question. Many organizations try to do it good, but only a few can do it really good. But what is about internal audits? Who thinks that internal audits are a management tool, a monitoring tool for the top management? How many organizations use them real effectively as a monitoring tool on the top management level? I remember a discussion several months ago when I first met John Frisky, who is now the CEO of QualityAI. He asked what I think about audits in general, and especially in the automotive industry, and why I believe that audits are, in most of the cases, not that effective as they could be. He also asked if I could envision a software tool which enhances overall organization's effectiveness in this regard. I told him that in my experience, as I have seen during my audits, consultancy projects, and discussions with professionals, I saw in many cases that management frequently doesn't understand the power of this tool, doesn't really understand that internal audits or audits general, are potential gold mines where you can find really important information very similar to financial controlling and KPI monitoring. Good audits allow management to recognize negative trends before they turn into severe internal and external problems, before these issues could cause real pain. And the real pain in the automotive means waste, reducing profit, in the worst case, losing customers. Even when management does understand, in many cases, there are no appropriate tools at the organizations. You know, in the automotive world, there are numerous requirements regarding to audits. There are the standard requirements, I mentioned already, ITF 16949, with the system audits, the process audits, the product audits. There are the customer-specific requirements, Formula Q from VW requiring the VDA 6.3, VDA 6.5, and so on. And there are sometimes also internal corporate requirements. So there are a lot of different audit types, and managing these audits in spreadsheets like Excel or even on paper, it's just impossible. Of course, there are some specific software tools, but most of them are just digitized notes, digitized documents, where employees still need manually enter the information. And in this case, it is merely just a record. It is not data, what you can evaluate later on, what you can use really for monitoring performance and taking appropriate decision from them. Additionally, those tools are often specialized into the different audit types. So if an organization have more audits, more different systems, then it multiplies also the resource needs. Another important issue is problem solving. During audits, naturally arise the non-conformities, what you have to process with all the containment actions, root cause analysis, corrective actions, preventive actions, and so on and so on. This will be due in many cases still in spreadsheets or conventional systems, sometimes in other systems, but they are still different separated systems. It means you have, again, a resource need to transfer data from one system to the other. It is already positive if we are speaking about softwares and systems, but sometimes these are just spreadsheets. And if it is the case, you are actually back to the square one. So you didn't do anything. And even after all the audits are conducted, documented, all the non-conformities are processed in a more or less proper way, we still didn't touch the ultimate purpose. How monitoring and management feedback works, how those data will be used in a value-adding way within the organization. Then we are still at this discussion with John. John said, well, I cannot change the understanding and the approach at the organizations. It is your role as a training and consulting company. But I could imagine a software tool what would solve most of these problems, what you just listed here, because today various AI solutions are available, and if we can integrate those into software, then actually all these problems and issues, what we listed here or what I listed there, could be solved. I would love to say the rest is history, but as you see on my hair and on my eyes, it is not yet. We are still working on that. The first meeting was followed by many others until we finally set a specification and let code it. What we are seeing now is a semi-automated audit programming which considers all the requirements, standard and customer requirements, consider the resources like competent auditors, even shift patterns, and generates semi-automated audit programs and update them in case of changes. Just imagine how much time your colleagues spend on different audit programs and trying to keep them up to date. The other important and for us very interesting topic, the audit checklists and audit documents, question lists, if we can code them like this. We have a multilingual checklist creator, which could be used for multi-site organizations or multi-location organizations. If you create an audit checklist on one location, in the next second, any other location can use in their own language. Devin and his team are working on a product audit checklist creator, which can read PDF documents and control plans and prepare product audit checklists. How does that sound? It's not bad, I think. Just imagine at organizations having hundreds of products where you have to create all these hundreds of product audit checklists by hand. In cases of non-conformities, we stay within the system. So from the software, you can initiate the containment actions and then start with a state-of-art problem solving. You can choose the problem solving tools according to the, would say, severity of the problem, with all the communications, with notifications, with escalations, reminders, and so on and so on. And the cherry on top is the custom tailored management dashboard, where the top management can see on time what is the progress, what is the status of the audit program, what is the status of the different audits, what are the results, what are the trends within the results. And as I said, you can really custom tailor on your needs, on the needs of your organization. Well, this was my part on why we need QualityAI, why we started to develop this software. And now I would hand it over to our Chief Technology Officer, Devin O'Dowd, who will give you a bit deeper insight into the how, and he will hopefully answer a lot of questions about that, and he will also say a few words about one of the most important topic. I think you are already thinking about that, because this is a cloud-based system, data security. Thank you very much.
Thanks, András. I just want to say before getting started that it's been great working with András for the last several months and learning all about audit management from him. So when I was younger and living in Australia, I collected books and I found a copy of the Quality Control Handbook, and I had to get it because it was the biggest book I'd ever seen in my life. And I remember flipping through it and thinking, you'd have to have just an encyclopedic brain to get your head around all the stuff that was in this book. Luckily for me, through this journey, I've had András instead for any questions, and I'm very grateful for that. So with that said, I'm very excited to talk to you all today and get into all the details of what we've been working on together. My background is in technology. I'm a data scientist and software engineer. And I've worked in a lot of different industries, from supply chain and logistics to even fine art. One of my favorite industries was mining, where I worked in program shutdowns. A shutdown is when you take a major piece of equipment offline and try to fix it as fast as possible. Of course, in mining, a major piece of equipment can be the size of this room. Shutdowns are great because saving even a day was often equal to about 200,000 Australian dollars. So it was very rewarding to find ways to knock days off the schedule and maximise your use of your resources. In all the different industries that I've worked on, there's been one common thread that's connected them all. That has been profit, how to get it and how to maximise it. And in my experience, the single biggest lever to optimising profit has been identifying, exploiting, and elevating your constraints. For example, in the mining domain, the constraint was often a single chain of dependent tasks. And once you identified that, you could identify all the ways that you could knock days off the schedule and maximize your use of resources. And that's the whole point of technology. One of the most rewarding parts of my work has been seeing and learning how very small inputs can have extraordinary outputs when focused on your constraints. And that is now what is so exciting about artificial intelligence, is the ultimate technology for getting extraordinary outputs out of your constraint. So what am I talking about when I talk about artificial intelligence? Well, it's simple, really. I've got a practical engineering definition. Artificial intelligence is optimization. Except we as a species have simply found a way to extend optimization beyond ourselves to a colossal scale. We've seen countless examples this year and last year, from entire videos being generated by AI, to music, to everything that ChatGPT has done with text. It turns out that when you let computers loose on optimization, you can do a lot of very impressive things. For example, just last week, OpenAI released a model that can solve mathematical Olympiad problems and other complex problems using step-by-step reasoning. Think about that for a second. Just by predicting the next word in a sentence, we now have a model that can emulate reasoning well enough to solve highly complex problems in mathematics, physics, and biology. But it's not perfect. Where things go wrong is that people often miss one half of the equation. A great way, optimization, any optimization, requires constraints. This is why you may have heard the word prompt engineer thrown around. It means someone whose job it is to find the right constraints to do something useful. A great way to think about a model like ChatGPT is as a bucket. They've spent millions on millions of dollars to create an optimization engine that with the right constraints imposed can do anything for you in text. But that almost doesn't matter from a practical perspective. The revolution is here. All that your business, every business needs is a system for identifying, exploiting, and managing their constraints. The problem is that existing philosophies about data and software engineering are not up to the task of the new era. But with that preamble out of the way, let's talk about QualityAI. The big vision of QualityAI is to take all the data generated in your audit programs and turn it into a gold mine for company effectiveness and efficiency. But this can be broken down into 3 simple steps: foresight, insight, and hindsight. Foresight is the part of the system that is focused on predicting the future. The power of the system that we're building is how it's going to allow you to capture the constraints around your requirements and the audit program. We have a system in the app that lets you define your requirements based upon constraints. You can set a constraint like this audit or this group of audits has to be completed by this milestone, or these audits have to be completed on this date, or these audits have to be set up in a complex sequence. We also have a system for using risk analysis to sequence your audits by which ones are the riskiest, which ones may cause the biggest issues for customers. This is then automatic. All these constraints are then linked to your auditors, their shifts, and their competencies, allowing you to do automated capacity planning and ultimately automated program creation. When we talk about automated product creation, we mean being able to walk to the computer and in an instant having a brand new audit program as soon as your requirements change. This means fundamentally that you will no longer have to pre-plan or schedule your scheduling. You can get a new audit program as soon as it is effective for your business. One of my favorite quotes is that the best way to predict the future is to invent it. This means being able to see how the future changes as you modify your inputs. This is exactly what we're going to allow you to do. You can add a new auditor, you can change your requirements, you can choose which requirements to ignore, you can change the priority, the order of priority between your audits. Then you can get a clear-cut answer on what's possible with the resources you have today and what may be possible with the resources you have in the future. The next step, insight, happens as audits are completed and findings are found. We are all drowning in data in this modern era. And our fundamental goal is to make sure that your audit programs generate information and not just data. So how are we doing this? Well, every report and finding is stored in a vector database. A vector database allows for semantic query. Semantic query allows you to ask a question in plain English and get back a list of documents and the specific references in those documents that are relevant. This allows us to do some cool things, like smart notifications. Because we have high-level tagging of a user's scope, responsibility, and permissions, we can route the right data to them based on what's happening today in the audit program. We're going to give high-level reports and summaries, reports and finding summaries based on the user's job role and the wider context within the audit program. This can be in multiple formats and subscription types, different types of audio summaries, different types of text summaries. And we also have a high-level dashboard, high-level management dashboard that gives an overview of the entire program. If you're thinking about business in terms of constraints, there is a single big one that sits above all. That is management attention. Our fundamental goal is to filter all of the data in the audit program automatically so that management attention is not wasted. To give managers the exact answers to their question and direct attention to where it is most useful. Having every report and finding in a vector database means being able to ask questions like what led to XYZ failure on Monday and getting back a timeline of documents and a synopsis. It means being able to ask intelligent questions and getting back intelligent answers. Which brings us to hindsight, the part of the system that is about correcting our blind spots. One of the most powerful tools of having everything in a vector database is that we can automatically compare written specifications, policies, and company documents. Fundamentally, this means that findings and reports can be linked directly to the specifications that birth them. We want to use this to give a heat map and predict where a company's blind spots are, showing the coverage of key organizational documents. This to give managers a created list of risks at a glance that is connected directly to their company policies. Imagine the power of having this linked to your training system or a future QualityAI module on training. If we take a step back from the detailed view, it's important to know that foresight, insight, and hindsight is a feedback loop. So it doesn't end when you come to hindsight. When you come back to foresight again, you can use the power of your hindsight. Using our risk matrix tool, you can target your audits based on a risk analysis. This means that feedback from hindsight can be automatically incorporated into the audit program with minimal effort. You can target your resources to your weakest point. Plus, it can evolve over time every time you go through the feedback loop, making your business and your people more and more effective. We plan to do this from all angles, from capacity to planning to knowledge, and identify the limits to success in each so that you can act upon it effectively. But besides the super high tech, we're also committed to getting the basics right. The app has beautiful interfaces that work on all devices, mobile, tablet, and desktop. We have offline support for all audit types. We have a robust user management and permission system that lets you secure the identity of your people through multi-factor authentication and single sign-on. You can also easily establish the context of your users through specific scopes and access levels. You can control your risks through temporary users, a global logout system, and the ability to deactivate any account. Besides defense, the most important part of security is trust. Using our permission system, you're going to be able to ensure that only trusted people have access to your resources, documents, and program data. We've taken a defense in detailed approach to your data. Everything is running on secure AWS infrastructure, which means best-in-class security features and tools like CloudTrail. All data is encrypted, all critical systems are behind a firewall, and we do not store any passwords. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to save you time. We're working on ways to have AI automatically generate audit questions, automatically pull product characteristics from product drawings, and give you suggestions on what requirements may be missing from your audit program. Our ultimate aim is to provide the best user experience and make it so everything is faster and easier on a day-to-day level. QualityAI is also working with my company, Devin O'Dowd. We use AI to automatically catalog and manage software. It's sort of like insight, foresight, and hindsight, but for creating great software that avoids technical debt. We're making it easier to apply optimizations, make changes, and write secure code. And we built an end-to-end system that will allow QualityAI to iterate faster and deliver a higher quality product which ships more meaningful updates to all of its customers. Besides, we've built QualityAI with all the best-in-class security precautions. But perhaps the most important part of security today is keeping systems secure over time. This means fundamentally having the ability to audit your code base and infrastructure effectively. This is something that we're approaching very diligently, combining software and auditing expertise. For AI systems, we're using a combination of self-hosted and top-BAS providers like Microsoft. The AI systems we use are stateless, so they don't store or learn from your data. There is a lot of competition in this space. We aim to offer our customers the choice among the best and the safest. Pulling back to our ultimate goal, there is perhaps one last thing I can talk about that will be helpful in everything to do with technology. One of my favorite stories is from Dr. Eliyahu Goldratt, the creator of the theory of constraints. He talks about when material resource processing, MRP software, was first created. Some companies had great success while others struggled. Luckily for the struggling companies, there was a lot of consultants to help them. They talked about how you needed 99% data accuracy, and you had to be a Class A user, and you basically had to jump through all these impossible hoops to get the benefits. Goldratt was frustrated by this, so he goes on to do a root cause analysis and figure out what's going on. And it turns out that because of the sheer amount of work that was required to do raw materials before MRP software existed, most companies only ran the report once a month. Keep in mind, it used to take weeks of work and cost major money. Now, only being able to run that report once a month was awful for businesses. It led to high work in progress, quality issues, and dead inventory. And the only reason that anyone could do this and stay in business was that all of their competitors were doing it also. Now, what Goldratt found is that the companies that were struggling to get the benefits were still only running the report once a month, while the companies that were having huge success were running these reports every day, every week, as much as possible to get the benefits of knowing exactly how much they should be paying for raw material. And the big takeaway is this: you don't get the benefits of technology unless you break with the old rules. The old rules of auditing involve spreadsheets, paper notebooks, and manually entering information into various databases to create management reports. The new rules include semi-automated audit programs, AI-supported audit checklists, state-of-the-art problem solving, and customizable comprehensive management dashboards. In simple words, QualityAI. And you don't need an encyclopedic brain to do that, only QualityAI. Thank you.